Hey guys, DeanPo here with another video, and today we'll be talking about Showdown, Final Showdown, my favorite topic. And in today's video, we'll actually be exploring what are the best lineups. Now, when it comes to tier list, right, especially when it's like multiple team compositions, it's very hard to do a tier list because the possibilities are essentially endless, right? Because there's so different combinations, and there's no point in me rating them, good and then bad. I'm only going to focus on the good lineups and the good team synergies, right? I'm not going to focus on the bad ones at all because this video is going to go for hours and we don't have hours, right? So every showdown, I'll be updating the tier list, and we'll be, some teams will move up, some teams will move down, depending on the lineups and how creative people get, right? And the efficiency of the team. So let's quickly see what we have here, right? So the way I've done the tier list is we have, 4 different categories. So God tier being the best, top tier being second best, then very strong and competitive, right? And then also there's practical, and then there is overkill, right? So practical is teams you should be building. Overkill is actually reserved for the uber whales that basically have units falling out of their pocket, right? And they can just build these nonsense teams. Anyway, so let's start with the God tier teams. Bison, MHken, Bizang, Elena. This has been the strongest team up until Virgil came out, and bar none, this was untouchable, right? And it's pretty much is untouchable unless someone else comes against you and they field this team, which is Virgil, Bizang, and Poison, right? Just the survivability of Virgil, him and Bison, this team is bonkers, but it's not essential. It's an overkill, right? You should not be running them in the same team, right? Unless you come up an uber whale and you really want to eliminate their Bison team, right? If you can dodge their Bison team, I would advise it rather than putting all your eggs in one basket, right? So extremely impractical, like it's just not. Whereas this team is very practical. So you're using every character to the max, right? You're using Ken Super to begin with, Elena's heals for survivability and heal, obviously. Bizang's Interrupt, and then Bison C3, which is one of the best C3s in the game, right? And then in this team here, you're essentially either going to use Bison C3 or Virgil, and they're both very good. And why would you put yourself in that position, right? It's unnecessary. Let's have a look quickly at how good this MHken team came. So here, for example, Alpha's team, he's running the same combination, and he's using S poison or assist instead of heals, right? And he's up against a very solid Bison team. And watch this. Just absolutely cleans up the other team. The fight finishes very quickly, and his team takes next to no damage. It's only Bison that's taking damage, right? So this is what I mean. This team is almost untouchable, and if you have this team, you should definitely run it. So that is that one, right? Now let's go back to the spreadsheet. So top tier and very strong team, this is where battles are won lost, right? This is what majority of the people in the competition are running. And all of these teams have strengths and weaknesses. Now you may ask, why is the MHken team better than the Evil Ryu and Bizang team? 2 reasons, right? I fielded this team against this, so I fielded this team against an MHken team and lost twice. It doesn't work, right? And also has less AoE utility, right? It's a very strong team, but I feel like this team has the edge, right? Now, if the RNG gods smile upon you and you go first with this team against an MHken team, you'll smash that team easily. So essentially, between these two teams, whichever Zangief attacks first and the super bar fills up, that's the team that wins, guaranteed. It's the only deciding factor there, right? Even though this is a faster team, it doesn't guarantee you the first hit. So that's important to note, guys. How fast your team is dictates how quick your super gauge is filled out. But if the teams are very close together and the other team that's a little bit slower gets that first hit, their super gauge will fill up quicker, and then they'll go first, and Bizang will interrupt you, you'll lose. So just to clear that out, right? Second team, or I would say second strongest in this tier, is probably this team here, which is the Nero, Virgil, Akuma. The only reason I'd say this second strongest is because it doesn't have a Bison, but it is still absolutely bonkers, this team. So I run it. I'll show you what I came up against, right? So I'm here. and I versed a very solid Bison team here, right? So Fashion Blanca, Street Poison, Bizang, and Bison. So quicker team, they will get the first strike no matter what, but just watch what happens. Nero is a very good tank. Virgil is, well, Virgil. I don't have to introduce him, right? It's just, this team is so well rounded. You have the AoE, you have the single target DPS with Akuma, and just survivability is insane as well. It gives you that sort of leverage over the Bison teams. And if it doesn't, it comes very close anyway. So that's a GG there, right? Very, very, very powerful lineup. Strongly recommend if you have them. So this one here, right? This M Bison, F Blanca, and this lineup here is the same lineup, except you can switch out C Viper for Blanca depending on what your opponent is running. If your opponent is running a squishy DPS, like say another Viper or a Guile, I would run Viper, right? But if your opponent is running a Fashion Blanca, you should not run Viper, because that team is weak to the Blanca's team. I've seen them time and time in this competition, and they just don't have enough in the fuel tank to kill it, right? So I still think this is the superior team, but this is also a very, very, very solid team, right? Now, a wild card in this top tier, and this was very close to coming up as God tier team, right? This Zangief, Akuma, Chun-Li, Rose team that Vix is running from our zone is nigh unkillable. The only team that I've seen beat this team is Nero, Virgil, Akuma, right? That is the only team I've seen beat it. I've seen Bison teams fail. I put up against that team my own MHK, Bizang, and Honda with Elena. I got wiped. Like, he wiped the floor with me, right? Very, very, very strong team. Let me showcase it, right? He's been running every single comp without fail, and it's just unbelievably strong. So let me see where Vix is. Here. So he is up against the Bizang, Guile, Street Poison, and Honda. Very, very strong teams. Almost maxed, right? Lots of damage, interrupt, and everything, but they just don't stand a chance. Just look at how strong this team is. They're taking like next to no damage. Barely any damage. Yeah, look at the damage at Apple with Akuma. He's, you know, the more stacks he gains, the harder he hits. It is absolutely bonkers, right? Like, Bukari here did not stand a chance. This team is something else. Right. So that's that one. Now, you may say, why Bison, Blanca, and Samurai Buki? It's an overkill. I've seen guys run this, and it works. There's a lot of DPS, a lot of AoE. I just don't think that Ibuki is used wisely in this team, right? I feel like it's an overkill. You can put her in other of your two teams that she's going to do a better job, right? You already have lots of AoE with Blanca here. I understand she's quick, but she's not as quick as Bizang. Bizang will always get the first hit at the start of the game, right? So if you come up against a solid Bizang team, they're gonna wipe you out, and you've lost your Blanca and your Ibuki, right? So is it worth it? Not unless you're a Gig Whale, right? I still think it's an overkill. If you've built Ibuki, put it in a separate team. That's my personal opinion, right? It's up to you how you run your teams, but if you ask me, that's an overkill. Right? Now, this is the very strong category down here. Please remember, guys, this is all from the showdown, right? As we go to more showdowns, these lists will move up and down. But right now, I feel these are teams that are dominating. So, what do we have here? We have Bison, Guile, Bizang, and any support, right? You can run any here. Now, you may ask, well, it's exactly the same as a Fashion Blanca, Bizang, and Bison team, or C Viper, Bizang, and Bison team. Why is it down here? Same as this Dalsin team, right? These are both very good teams, but they share one thing in common, right? That these two teams don't to the same degree. They're very squishy. These guys, if they have a C Viper or an Akuma on the other team, you're done. Like, you're finished. They just get deleted. But goddamn, like the damage output from Guile and Dalsim, if you haven't built, especially Guile, he synergizes so good with Bizang. So good. I've seen him delete teams, right? But so yeah, that's why I think they're very strong and not top tier for that reason, because survivability, right? They just get squished very, very, very easily. Now there's two LAs here, right? Two very, very, very strong teams, right? One is same as this Bison Team, except you run a Zangief, who's, in my opinion, one of the best tanks for PvP. You know, you save your Bison for somewhere else and you run Zangief, and this is almost just as efficient, right? Very, very strong lineup. But I just want to draw your attention to this one here. This here has been the surprise of the tournament for me. I've seen this team here continually wipe Bison teams. Just have a look at this, right? Have a look at this. Zone 1. Here, right? Look at that. So, let me start from here, right? So he's beaten his opponent here, who ran the exact same lineup with the exact same combo, right? I feel if these guys run the interrupt instead of a Blanca C2, they would have won, right? But they didn't. And this team is so tanky, it just essentially allows them to roll over this Bison team, right? Let's just quickly watch this. It is bonkers. I really, really like this lineup. I like how people get creative with it, right? Very strong. Very, very strong. So yeah, one more thing to mention I saw here, right, is I saw one person running Nero, Sagat, Virgil, and Street Poison. I mean, he's a whale. No two ways about it. But there's few things with this, right? It's pretty much similar scenario up here. You have two good C3s that you want to be utilizing, but if you have them in the same team, you're not making maximum use out of it, right? Also, Sagat is slow as shit, and Virgil is slow as shit. So you're almost guaranteed to go last, right? So even though this person stacked this really, really strong team, they still lost when it came to the actual fight, right? Like, look at this. So he is running. Where is it? Let me see it. There you go, right? He's running Virgil, Saga, Nero, and Street Poison, and he lost, right? Why he did that, I don't understand, but just keep in mind, it's absolute overkill. It's a very strong team, nonetheless. Lots of survivability, but it's a no-no. And last but not least, we have your competitive teams here. This is also very common, right? So I feel like, oops, sorry, this shouldn't be here. Must have been a copy mistake when I was creating these. So I feel like the last of this list is a Honda Gale Bizang team. Once again, it's very competitive. You're not using a Bison in there, and you have the flexibility of interrupting with Bizang and the speed, right, and the damage of Gale. But once again, he's very, very squishy. But if your Bison is occupied elsewhere and you have a strong team, this is definitely a team worth running, because you know everyone has that one uber strong team and they have two competitive teams or two very strong teams and one throwaway team. So have a look at these. See what the best sort of scenario for you is. Once again, I recommend share your power, distribute it across your teams, but if the opponent is running the one uber strong team and you can't dodge it, then try and match him. Anyways guys, that's it for this one, and next video I'll be delving a little bit deeper more into like the fighting souls and the best EX to run for PvP as well. Anyways, thanks for watching and catch